Hello everyone, welcome back to the final class of this teaching. Thank you very much for joining us for the last time. Thank you very much, Geshe, Geshe-la. And let's begin. We can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now? Thank you. As always, we will first do the Refuge and Bodhisattva verse recitation, followed by Essence of Dependent Origination mantra recitation. Okay. Setting a proper motivation, which we did this morning, just refresh the motivation which we set this morning. Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the space in front of you, so loving, caring, and your two parents and all the sentient beings around you, and your desire to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. With this aspiration, imagine that you're leading this and all beings are joining you. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations for the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations for the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations for the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye joda zoge jonamda chanjo bardo dane gyapso che dage jinso gebe tsonamgi tola benjere sangye ju barasho sangye joda zoge jonamda chanjo bardo dane gyapso che dage jinso gebe tsonamgi tola benjere sangye ju barasho Sangye joda zoge chonamla janjo bardo dane gyapso che dage jinso kebe chonam chola benjir sangye jubare sho Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham tathagato yavatat Desham chayo niroda evam vati mahashramanaye swaha Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum tesham tathagato yavatat Desham chayo niroda evam vati mahashramanaye swaha Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum desham tathagato yavatat Desham chayo niroda Evam vati mahashramanaye swaha. Meaning of the mantra. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of the causes as well is taught by the great seer. Okay. So now in the actual three principles of the path, and these three principles of the path, they're taught, each of them taught under three topics or three points. Number one, why do we need to cultivate or generate the three parts? Number one, why? Why was the purpose? Number one. Number two is how to cultivate. If there's a purpose and if there's a need, yes, I need to cultivate it, I must. Then how? This is number 2. Then once having put effort into cultivating these three parts, the next point is, okay, I put this much of effort. Now, how do I know that I've actually accomplished in the cultivation of these three? In other words, what is the measure of having cultivated the 3 parts? Number 1, why do we need to cultivate? What's the purpose of the cultivation of this path? Number 2, how to cultivate it? Number 3, what is the measure of having cultivated the 3 parts? Okay, this is how each of these 3 points are going to be delineated. Next, in each of 3 points, Lama Tsongkhapa's style is that where necessary, he would really go to explain in great detail just to untangle the nuances. And then where not necessary, he will just skip. Okay, this is Lama Tsongkhapa's style. So with this in mind, what we do is that, say, each of these points, renunciation. Why do we need to cultivate renunciation? How to cultivate it? And what's the measure of having cultivated it? Likewise, for Bodhichitta, 3 points. Wisdom of Emptiness, 3 points. And there's some of the points we take from the other points, which you may not find explained as so explicitly. This we have to take from the other points. Okay, so first, point number stanza number 3. The verse 3 of the 3 principal parts, or the 3 principal aspects of the parts, points. And there's some of the points we take from the other points, which you may not find. So, okay. Now, point number 3, the first, renunciation. Renunciation. Why do we need to cultivate renunciation? Or in other words, what's the purpose? Whenever we do something, if we do things without any purpose, which means that we are just wasting our time, and we must seek the purpose. And the renunciation, we need to know what it is. As I said earlier, renunciation is to renounce the mind, to renounce the mind from the state we are in now, to achieve another more aspired, the more appealing the state, appealing goal. So what is that goal? The goal where you are fully woken up and that all your miseries stop. This is where we are heading towards, or we aspire. That aspiration to achieve that goal is known as renunciation. And oftentimes, this is another point that I always emphasize, that sometimes people tend to be naive, to think that renunciation means to just renounce your happiness, renounce your good food, renounce your, let's say, the good house, cars. This is a total naivety. This is not the real meaning of the renunciation. The real meaning of renunciation is to renounce your miseries, not to renounce your happiness. Is to renounce our miseries. And how to renounce miseries is to wake up from the sleep of ignorance, which otherwise attracts, which otherwise brings lots of miseries within us. So that's the meaning of renunciation. So it says, stanza 3, without pure renunciation, an end to attraction for the pleasures of cyclic existence is unattainable. Okay. So the place where we are now is known as samsara, and there is another destination, not as external place, but as a mental state, a destination where all your miseries stop. And that's a state of the waking state, or the fearlessness, state of fearlessness, or nirvana. And say there are 2 choices. Say one is the state of nirvana, where there's total freedom, and another state of samsara, where there's a mixture of happiness, suffering, and acute suffering, all mixed up. And as long as we feel attached to this state of samsara, we never will have the desire to go to nirvana. So if you don't have the desire to go to nirvana, you will never have the renunciation. You will never have the nirvana achieved. So first we have to cut attachment to this existence samsara, by seeing the benefit of being there in the state of nirvana, state where you are totally woken up from the sleep of ignorance, and that you have no more of the miseries. So till you see the benefit of this, your attachment will be there. Till you have the attachment to this, you have no desire to get to the state of fearlessness. Okay, so it says, without pure renunciation, if you don't have the renunciation, the desire to get to the high state of freedom from suffering, then your attraction to the pleasures of cyclic existence bring an end to this attraction or attachment to the pleasures of cyclic existence or samsara is unattainable. This is impossible. So if you really want to have the state of fearlessness, where all your misery is stopped, then the craving for existence, then you have to stop the attraction to the pleasures of cyclic existence. And then it says that, oh, what's wrong if the cyclic existence, yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. What's wrong with it? It says the craving for existence also binds beings. And yes, for example, say you have, let's say somebody takes you for a holiday, or say you are a little sick and somebody cures you, you are taken to the hospital, your illness is gone, and then everybody comes to celebrate your recovery. You're very happy. What's wrong with these? What's wrong? And you get up let's say iPhone 13 as a gift. What's wrong with this? So basically, there's nothing wrong in them. The only thing is, object-wise, there's nothing wrong. Your craving, our craving for that, that's the problem. That creates agitation. That creates fear within us. So the craving for existence also binds beings, binds us in samsara. And if you look at samsara, say, yeah, superficially, when people, congratulate you, or when you have, good time, holiday, fine. But if you look at the samsara from a broad picture, even one existence, say aging. So when you're in your 20s, it's fine. When you're in your 30s, okay. When you're 40, okay. When you're 50, then you can feel that. For example, I noticed that recently, the COVID vaccine, say again, my sister and my friends, they were about Geshe, you should prepare with the paracetamol painkiller in case of the bodily reaction to the COVID, so forth, that you should be ready. And then I had the vaccine, and then it did not really happen. Nothing really happened. No reaction happened to me. And the people are saying that, okay, what happened? Did any problem? Do you need any help? I said, no, don't worry. My body surrendered. My body, they're saying that my body is old. I thought I was young. And my body said, no, body surrendered. From this, young people, the reaction was terrible. They are vomiting, they have fever, and they are pain here, there, which means that their body's fighting. And then my body surrendered, already 50. So my body surrendered. Then I realized, okay, I'm not young anymore. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that these things are there. And then the aging, and then the death, and the pain of the loss of near and dear ones, it's acute, so painful. In fact, to be very honest, when we are just lost in like a nice coffee, or a nice cold coffee, oh, it's my favorite nice cold coffee. Yeah, there your mind simply is imbibed in this like a blissful experience. But to see things in a very holistic way, one moment of tragedy is good enough to simply kill the fantasies of the life, the festivities, the merriments. One moment of the loss of the near and dear ones, it simply shatters your whole life. The life is just totally, grim and the dark and totally meaningless. That happens with one moment of tragedy. It says, that is samsara. That is samsara. So therefore, if we need to learn how to look at things from a very holistic way. It doesn't mean that don't enjoy your coffee or don't enjoy your good cars. It doesn't mean that. You can enjoy. Meanwhile, also be mindful of these realities. These realities can hit us anytime. So that's very important. So the point is that it says that the craving for existence also binds beings. Thus, from the outset, seek renunciation. Just think of a complete escape altogether. In other words, the state of fearlessness, no fear anymore. That is something that I need to accomplish. This is what we need to cultivate. And for that matter, this desire to go there, to the state of fearlessness, that is renunciation, and that should be with us. So without this, then we continue to suffer in samsara. It binds us in samsara, and look at samsara is really, really very painful. Okay. And then let's say the parents, they work so hard to, make money, make properties. And then the children, they grow up, 2 children, 3 children, 4 children. What is it properties? In many cases, these properties, they are like the basis for the children to fight. Then your, say, grandchildren, they come, and grandchildren, they are not brothers and sisters, they are cousins. Then they start to fight over the properties. This is so painful. And you created this wealth that your family, your next generation, they will be benefited, but is as though like you create this wealth in order to create a fight amongst your the future generations. It's very sad. Okay, so this is what samsara is. And then sometimes the stories are very painful stories at the end. And you create the wealth, you work so hard to bring your children up, and the grandchildren, they come, and then the children, as they grow old, they have their own, not old, they grow older, they have the children, and then they threaten you that, okay, you have to, they sign the paper that this property should go to me, and then we'll throw you out from your own property. Very sad, acutely sad. It's not that everybody's doing that, but just look at these things. It's so sad. And in the process, we accumulate so much of negative karma that somebody who loved you so much, somebody who gave you the maximum love and affection, care when you were so vulnerable, now that person becomes vulnerable, you become strong, and now you are, doing all these nasty things towards that person who has been so kind to you, and instead of expression of gratitude, you are being so unkind. You accumulate so much of negative karmas. So this is what is happening in the world. Look at this. And this is samsara. So painful to see. Okay, just imagine if this is what happens from your children happening to you, done to you, your heart will be broken. This is so sad. Okay, so it says that, so therefore, now we have to look for a permanent escape. What's a permanent escape? Fearlessness, or technically known as nirvana. So that desire to achieve that must be there. That is renunciation. Without this renunciation, you will never get to a state of that total fearlessness. So that's the purpose, number 1. Then number 2, how to cultivate this renunciation. Yes, it's very important to cultivate this renunciation, the desire, the genuine desire to get out of samsara. But how to cultivate this? Number 4, where we feel attracted or where we feel stuck is 2. Number 1, samsara. Within samsara, there are 2. This life and the future lives. Past is finished. Past, whether we are stuck, not stuck, finished. Now they are like memories. But this life and the future lives. So how not to feel, say, this life, say, good life is nothing wrong. So let's not mix up these 2 things. Say, to have a good car, to have a good house, there's nothing wrong in it. But the desire for the good house, the desire for the good cars and so forth, that's the problem. So the attachment to the samsara and the good things that you find in samsara, the facilities in samsara, there's nothing wrong in them. Say, with the least sense of attachment to this, you can have good car, good house. There's nothing wrong in it. It's fine. So people have a misconception that, oh, Buddhism means renunciation. Renunciation means you have to get away from the good cars, good house, and so forth. This is total naivety. So with this, how to cut the attachment to this life and attachment to the next life. So the first, reverse attraction to this life, attachment to this life, but reflect on how leisure and opportunity are difficult to find and how life is ephemeral and without span. So we have to see the same, keep in mind the big goal, that is the total fearlessness. And this is something achievable. And how to achieve that? How to achieve that? We need to see the emptiness. To see the emptiness, we need to have a good, sharp intelligence, that your mind should not be, say, insane. And then you also need time for these, time for to reflect on emptiness and so forth. So there's a long-term plan, the long-term blueprint. For that matter, say what can potentially stop you using these facilities that you have, like good physical health or youth and so forth, towards a greater goal, is getting entangled with the frivolous, I say, good things of samsara. When you attach to the frivolous things, then no doubt that your mind will be deviated from thinking of the larger goal to the smaller goal. So that is the attachment to this life. So this attachment to life is a great deterrent factor for you from thinking of the larger good. But reflection on how the leisure and opportunity of this life, how this life you have time to practice, you have the opportunity, like your senses are perfect, the sanity there, you're physically, you are healthy, and these facilities, how these facilities are not at all easy to get. For example, look at for example, in Afghanistan today, like out of, say, the 100 people, 50 on average, the 50 males, 50 not females, and the 50 females, they were totally cut off from utilizing their potential. The female judges, no work now. Female professors, no work now. The female advocates of environment and so forth, no work now. This is Afghanistan today. So if you're born in such a place, how can you possibly utilize this incredibly precious human birth? So while we achieve these incredible and no restrictions from outside, it is wise not to waste this and really think of the larger good rather than being caught up in this. If you are caught up in this ephemeral or in this frivolous, the trivialities, the trivial things of this life, then our mind will be deviated from the think of the larger good, which means that you are cut off from the escaping from samsara. So therefore, think of this, then you see that the goodness of this life, where we feel attached to, they are like traps for us. They are like the baits. When you see something as baits, then you feel detached from this bait. Everybody's scared of baits. So by reflecting on how leisure and opportunity are difficult to find, and how life is ephemeral, and this life, which has a tremendous potential for you to get out of samsara, this life is so temporary, is so ephemeral, is so impermanent, without a span, is very short-lived. So we have to do the maximum while we get this life. The example given is that if you go to the island, Treasure Island, and then they say that the Treasure Island, you have only, say, 3 hours a year, and after this, then the hurricane will hit the island. You have only 3 hours, and that is the Treasure Island. You can gather the treasure there, and Okay, because you came sailing all the way for say many months, and finally you say, okay, I'm tired. No, you're in the treasure island. You came there for the treasure island and for the treasures, and your span is very short, only 3 hours. And you spend months and months and months and months to reach there. You got there now, and now you sleep. Oh, I'm tired. I need to rest a little bit. You're tired. You sleep for 3 hours. Then it's time to get out. Otherwise, it's going to be hit by hurricane. So this is such a waste. This is so unwise. All the efforts to get there to the treasure island, it's not for you to sleep there. You can sleep in a home. So there, you have to make the best use of your 3 hours there. Gather the treasure as much as possible within this short span of your stay there. Otherwise, soon after that, it's going to be hit by the hurricane. So our life is going to be soon hit by the hurricane of the death. So therefore, it is said that to make sure that this life is so short, there's no time for me to sleep. There's no time for me to be attracted to the trivialities. So these are the reminders that we need to, you and I, all of us, that we need to constantly, the input put within our mind that, okay, this is what is happening. I'm like somebody who's sleeping in the treasure island, which is going to be where I will be there just for like 3 hours, and hurricane is going to hit me, and then I will not be in that treasure island anymore. So with this reflection, of course, then you see that I'm just a fool if I, waste so much of time in the trivialities of this life. So it says to find how life is ephemeral without span. So this is how we cut attachment to this life. Now the next is cut attachment to the next life. That is, reverse attraction to future lives by repeatedly thinking about the infallibility of karma, infallibility or the efficaciousness of the karma and its effects, and the miseries of samsara. Okay, so next life. Yes, next life also we need to have you need to take a good rebirth. But again, if we just focus on the next birth, good rebirth, even the good rebirth, this also falls under the category of the law of karma. Karma effects, karma effects, karma effects. So with this, how things are operating in this karma, and the next birth, what the next birth is going to be like, anything. And the next birth, the lower births, they have their own demerits. Tremendous fear in each of these three lower births: hell realm, hungry ghost realm, animal realm. And then even in the higher realm, the human realm, we have our own problems: sickness, aging, death. So to think about the overall, the miseries of samsara and the miseries of the individual, the realms about this. And then these are all because of the karma and the effects. So seeing that the karma they've accumulated is not just, okay, so because it's a karma, so I have to make sure that I only good karmas, so that next life and the future, I don't have to worry about anything. No, karma we have is not just what we accumulate this life. The innumerable karmas we already accumulated from the past lives. And any of these karmas, negative, from the worst of the negative karmas, they can hit us anytime to decide our future life. So it's very scary. The future is totally unpredictable. And for example, in this life, if you're able to take a refuge, proper refuge, then yes, we can guarantee the next life is fine, taken care of. But what will I guarantee after 500 lifetimes, after 1,000 lifetimes? Without seeing emptiness, 1,000 lifetimes is nothing. It's like a split of a second. It's going to be like trillions of lifetimes. And then say one life, next life, okay, 2 lifetimes, 3 lifetimes, we can pretty sure that if we take a very strong refuge in the triple gem, we'll be taken care of. But what about 10 lifetimes? What about 100 lifetimes? We cannot predict it at all until we get out of samsara before these many lifetimes come to us. So think of the law of karma is very scary. The future also, future lives also, there's nothing to feel attached to, because the future is all driven by the karmas, and the karma can throw us in any forms, any of the sufferings. So the future, there's nothing to be attached to the future. I must get out of this life, the samsara overall samsara. So without this, all these sufferings are determined by the karma, and the karma, each one of us, we have tremendous, incredible number of the negative karmas there, which can easily throw us into the hell realms, Holy Ghost realms, so forth. Because of this, then the future life, there's nothing for us to feel attached to. We have to, it's very scary, just as this life, to be used very productively. Otherwise, this life is so short, and the future life is all determined by my karma. What karma will activate, we are not sure. It's very scary. We think about this, then we see that there's nothing for us to feel attached to this life and the future life. Rather, invest all our effort to get out of samsara altogether. Okay, so by repeated think of the infallibility of karmas and its effects and the miseries of samsara overall miseries, and the individual, the miseries of the individual, the realms. Contemplating thus, now reflecting on these 2 points, your attention to this life, attention to the future life is cut. Okay, you practice it. Then number 3, what is the measure of having attained a renunciation? So number 5 says, contemplating thus, when for an instant you do not admire the splendors of cyclic existence, splendors of samsara, and remain intent on liberation. Liberation meaning remain intent to be liberated from samsara altogether, to the state of the fearlessness, day and night, fearlessness, day and night. Renunciation is born in you then. So once in a while, when we encounter with the severe tragedies, acute tragedies, there's a tremendous pain there. Samsara is terrible. I must get out. Yes, that is not the real renunciation. That is just very temporary, because you are hit by the suffering, which is so acutely painful. And then the moment this suffering becomes like a memory, and it is replaced by suffering change. Samsaric happiness, again your desire to be liberated again subsides, which means the earlier feeling of the renunciation was not the genuine renunciation. So what is the genuine renunciation is contemplating thus, for an instant you do not admire the splendors of cyclic existence. There's nothing there for me to feel attached to. And in fact, the story which I shared with you, I think yesterday, about the people who go for the picnic. Okay, yes, which I shared yesterday. Just think of that. This is so real. It's so real, and the once in a while we may get carried away by a little bit of the samsaric pleasures, but think of overall samsara. Then think of this story. You relate this to your own life. See the life from, say, the since you could remember when you were age 3, 4, 5. Till now, you are in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever. Think of overall picture, and then relate this 100 people going for the picnic, and 3 people who seeing some indications in the flow of the river, seeing that there's the prospective flood, severe flood. So these 3 struggling to get out. And others, they were so engrossed in the picnicking and finally washed away by the torrent of the flood, and they died, and only 3 escaped. Just think of that. And if you can really think of this, is extremely powerful. And meanwhile, these verses, they are written by Lama Tsongkhapa, highly enlightened. In fact, they say when we read this over and over again, we see that again, your mind will be put back into perspective to see the reality more closely. And these are all coming from his experience. So it would be good if we include this in our daily recitation, reflection, and meditation. Okay, the next. Contemplating thus, stanza 5, contemplating thus, when for an instant you do not admire the splendors of cyclic existence. So these are all like traps. You should not feel attached. When gradually the attachment goes away, then the good things, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong in it. Say, for example, I should live long. I should have good health, so that I can practice more. I can benefit other people more. For that matter, I need good health. For the good health, I need good food. For this matter, I need all these facilities, not out of attachment, because of the greater purpose. That is perfect. There's nothing wrong in it. So we should not confuse between the attachment to the good things and the good things per se. There's nothing wrong. You don't have to reject the good things. Just cut the attachment to the good things. So this is the point. On contemplating thus, for an instant, you do not admire the splendors of psychic existence and remain intent on liberation, to be liberated from samsara altogether, to achieve the final state of fearlessness, day and night. At that point, renunciation is born in you then. Okay, this is a measure of having generated the renunciation. The next, bodhicitta. Bodhicitta, number one, the purpose. Why should we have to generate bodhicitta? And number two, why, how to cultivate bodhicitta. Number three, having the measure of having cultivated bodhicitta. The first, the purpose. Why do we have to generate bodhicitta? So this morning, what we said is that what we are seeking is fearlessness and the infinite happiness. And the infinite happiness is possible only with the sense of where your mind eases out. What is that mind? Where your mind simply expands. That is the love and affection. So this love and affection, more this love and affection spreads, more the ease that you feel. So what is that extent, which is the greatest, whereby your mind feels the greatest ease? That is when your mind expands at the infinitely. So there is a purpose so that you will get the maximum ease, maximum fulfillment, maximum happiness. So that is, so let's see what Lama Tsongkhapa advises. Number 6, renunciation, if not tempered by pure mind of bodhicitta. Although you have renunciation, this will maximum take you to a fearlessness, but not to the Buddhahood. So what determines that this renunciation takes you to Buddhahood? This renunciation must be complemented by bodhicitta. If not tempered or if not complemented by the pure mind of bodhicitta, however, will not bring forth the perfect bliss of the unsurpassed enlightenment, infinite happiness. Therefore, the wise ones generate the excellent mind of bodhicitta. So finally, we want the maximum happiness, not only fearlessness, but the maximum happiness. For the maximum happiness, this bodhicitta is one which allows you to have the maximum happiness. So the wise people, knowing that the infinite happiness is one of the two goals that we aspire, so the wise one will generate bodhicitta in order to accomplish that. Therefore, the wise ones generate the excellent mind of bodhicitta. Okay, now the next one is, so that's the reason why we have to generate bodhicitta, in order to seek the infinite happiness. Now, once you know the purpose, then how to cultivate bodhicitta? To cultivate bodhicitta, let's keep in mind that what Lama Tsongkhapa presented here, this is in a gist form, but in the more detailed form, if you look at Lama Tsongkhapa's own text, Bodhisattva Shantidev's text, then you see that the pit instructions that we inherited from the Bodhisattva Atisha Dibangara Shirigana and the Bodhisattva Lama Selingpa. These two teachers, Lama Selingpa from Indonesia, the prince, who was a prince there and who contributed incredibly to the dissemination of this great teaching of the bodhicitta in the land, and then passed all these the pit instructions to his student Bodhisattva Lama Atisha Dibangara Shirigana, and who in turn brought this to Tibet and disseminated there. So now we have His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who is the master of this tradition, and of these two methods, the sevenfold cause-effect method, and the method of equalizing exchange yourself for others. So these two methods, what I would say is that we can practice these two methods. First, we have to learn what these two methods are, and for these two methods, we can be as creative. For the emptiness, please don't be creative. For the emptiness, if you're creative, you will end in a strange destination. then you will enter, most likely you will enter into nihilism. And don't be creative. For bodhicitta, you can be as creative, because the information with the bodhicitta, we have this information in one way or the other. The only things that we do not know how to put them into a very systematic way. So once we learn how to put them in a systematically, then we can, get all whatever information that you have, like your life experiences, which you actually experienced, and which you have read in the books, which you have seen, which you have heard, bring them in this to make your meditation rich. Whereas for the emptiness meditation, this is something which we have never experienced before, and even the part of these experiences we have not really got before. So we are not to be too creative. When you're going to a new place, don't be too creative. You listen to the guide. You listen to the reliable guide, because if you're too creative, you may end up into the lion's den in a new place. If you're too creative, oh, I want to go here, I want to explore here, my guide is too rigid, taking into this direction, I want to explore this. You explore, you may end up into the lion's den. It's very scary. So with emptiness, this is like going to a new place. Don't be too creative. Whereas for the bodhicitta, you can be as creative, because the bodhicitta experience of love and affection we already have, but it's very biased only to one person, like your child. Nowadays we see that love and affection almost like 90% focus on the child rather than towards your parents. So this very biased, but even that is an incredibly great example for what the bodhicitta is like. If this love that you feel towards your child, towards your mom, towards your dad, so if the feeling of love, if you can expand this to all the beings, that is the bodhicitta. So you have some experience. Now with the wisdom of emptiness, we don't have experience, because with this we should not be too creative. Okay, now the point is that the two methods, sevenfold cause and effect method and the method of equalizing exchanging method, and these two methods, I would say if you really want to see that your mind is feeling like, some people, they go for, what is that, the pills for hallucination, some drugs, they go for these drugs, and just to have this, the feeling of high, to make yourself feel, So if you really want to feel, something so pleasant, if you really want to feel that, then practice bodhicitta. This is so beautiful. It'll take time. Taking pill, it'll not take time. Taking pills or the drugs to feel high, it'll not, they take time. It's very quick. But once the effect of this pill is gone, then again you go back to zero. Whereas the bodhicitta, to feel the effect of bodhicitta will take a lot of time, in fact, years and years. But once you start feeling it, it's very stable. It's not disappear easily. It's very stable. So, and that we can't expect just by saying they say like one verse. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. By my cumulative practice of generosity and so forth, may I become Buddha for the benefit of all saints. Just saying this, reciting this for 3 times will not bring bodhicitta. That's for sure. For the bodhicitta, we have to practice the 2 methods. And if you don't have time, I would suggest you to practice these 2 methods on the alternate between the 2 methods. Do one method today, the next day, the other the next day. So just alternate. Whereas if you have time, you can do both. And sometimes even though you have time, or you feel so tired, sometimes these practices are very tiring. They will consume lots of your energy. You will feel very tired. If you feel tired, then you do one practice at a time and then you rest. But do it consistently. Then you will start to feel the benefit. When you feel it, it's so, so beautiful. It'll make your life so beautiful. It'll make your life very easy. and things which can easily provoke you otherwise, you can tackle them, deal with them so easily without any difficulties. Okay. So here, what what Lama Tsongkhapa taught us is how to cultivate the bodhichitta. Just the many points that Lama Tsongkhapa indicated, they are, they are the things which Lama Tsongkhapa already took for granted that we are doing these practices, like remembering all beings as one's mothers and so forth, So, once you see that you're, say, someone who you love so much, say a mother and a child, for a mother, when the child is going through so much difficulties, the more the difficulties the mother sees in the child, the more the mother will go to protect the child. So this was the basic logic which is employed by Lama Tsongkhapa to generate the bodhicitta here. Okay, let's read. Swept up in the current of the four powerful rivers, tied by strong bonds of karma so hard to undo, caught in the iron net of self-grasping, completely enveloped by the darkness of ignorance, born and reborn in boundless cyclic existence, ceaselessly tormented by the three miseries, thinking of your mothers in this condition, generate the supreme mind of bodhicitta. Okay, thinking of your mothers in this condition. So just Lama Tsongkhapa already took for granted that we practice the first the few steps of this unfold cosmic method. Remember all beings of one's mothers, recalling their kindness, and then repaying their kindness. All these will be taken for granted. So which means that we should be doing these steps. Okay. So those beings, all the beings who you now, because of the practice of the two methods, you feel so loving, you feel so loving, you just feel like embracing them with so much love, the way the manner in which the mother would just embrace her young infant. So when this feeling comes to you, related to all the beings, then when you see the suffering nature of the beings, your compassion really gets intensified. So what kind of suffering is set here in the following? Are swept up in the current of the four powerful rivers, that all these beings who have been your mothers, they're being swept up or washed away by a very powerful current of the four powerful rivers. So what are the powerful rivers? The river of attachment, the river of aversion, the river of ignorance, and the river of wrong view. The river of wrong view. Wrong view meaning not knowing the cause and effect relationship, doing bad things and expecting happiness. And say people who are doing good things, then you feel sorry for them that they're doing good things, they're thinking that they will experience pain. So this is the wrong view. And these are the four thoughts which washed our life one day after day after day. And how true that is. Just look at our life. Wake up till you go to bed. Just try to scan your whole day and see how many moments in this particular day your mind is after attachment, your mind is after anger, your mind is after ignorance, your mind is after the wrong view. For example, let's say, in some places, always you have to do some form of the word corruption, right? Encouraging corruption, encouraging bribery. These things are there somehow. And then when it comes to your child and the other child, there's somehow attachment to your child and a little bit of the uneasiness towards the other children's success of the other children's success. These things are there. So the point is just look at our life, how our life is our mind is being just washed away, carried away by the torrents of these four misconceptions or the afflictions. It's very true. Surrounded by the current of the four powerful rivers. Okay, now the analogy given, this is very powerful analogy given by Lama Tsongkhapa, of course, extremely brilliant manifestation of Adamajishri. So the analogy given was that just imagine that you are, say, a terrorist capture you, and then you are put into a small tiny cage, iron cage, tiny cage. Or first you are bound with the rope, tightly by rope. And then you being bound, you are thrown into this small cage and locked this cage. And this cage, he throws into the very powerful river. And that it so happens that it is in the total night time, totally dark. Okay, just see what? Number one, that you're bound. That you're bound by the very tight rope. Then you are thrown into this cage where it's almost like impossible to escape. Locked and cage, a tiny cage. And this cage thrown into the very forcefully running river. Even if you, without the cage, even if you are free, still you cannot escape. So you are in a cage, bound and forceful river. And that also not in daytime, in the nighttime. If this is the situation, tell me what is the chance of you escaping from this? So the first, let's say that you are in this, and then this very powerful river is just carrying you, washing you away. And for this, first of all, you have to run out of this, get out of this, the water. You are in cage. And how to get out of the cage? You are bound. Okay, so let's say that, so this cage, accidentally, somehow, the chance is so narrow, but somehow by chance, out of 0.00001% chance that this cage hits a rock standing in the middle of on this river, very forceful river, and the cage breaks. Cage is broken, but you are bound. You can't do anything. So you come out of the cage, still in the river, so you can't do anything. And then by some chance, so this knot gets untangled. Let's say by 0.001, the knot gets unentangled. Okay, fine, but you're still in the water. Water carries you away, and accidentally, let's say that you are, let's say sometimes the rivers they throw you on the bank of the river. Sometimes accidentally, 0.0001 chance you're thrown there, and then what? It's totally dark. You don't know where to go. Lion, there could be crocodiles on the bank of the river. They are ready to eat you up. It's very scary. This is exactly what we are. Okay, let's see. Swept by the currents of what is these currents? These currents are the currents of your negative emotions. We are not spared from these negative emotions, the four powerful emotions. Then we are tied by the strong bonds of the karma. For example, even if you become sick, oh no, this body is too terrible. I'm so weak. I cannot do anything. I want to have a new body. No, as long as, say as long as you live, you should be with this body. So you are tied with this body, and then your body is being, you have been confined within this body. Then caught in the iron net of the self-grasping. And then they say the prison, the small cage, iron cage. So that is the self-grasping that we have. Our self-grasping is, we are within the self-grasping days and nights. Caught in the iron net of self-grasping. So self-grasping, completely enveloped by the darkness of the ignorance. Self-grasping is there, and the negative emotions are there, the karmas are there, and this our inability to see the reality. That is the darkness. We are 24 hours in this darkness. So how can you escape? Almost the chance is nil. So we have to depend on these great teachers like the Buddha Shakyamuni, the Bodhisattva Shantideva, Nagarjuna, and so forth. Okay. Completely enveloped by the darkness of ignorance. This is applied to the beings to whom you love so much. And because of these things, then what happens is that born and reborn, this is how they perpetually take life after life, take existence in the samsara. Born and reborn in boundless, endless cyclic existence, ceaselessly tormented by the three miseries: in the process, this, because there's this being in the cage, hit in the rocks, so that way we continue to suffer, to go through the 3 kinds of miseries. Thinking of your mothers in this condition and generate the supreme mind of bodhicitta. Okay. Now, this completes with the bodhicitta part. Why do we have to generate bodhicitta? And then number 3, how to cultivate the bodhicitta. Now, what is the measure of how you generate bodhicitta? This is not explicitly mentioned here. That you have to take from the one presented in the renunciation. So, days and nights. So, by extension from the renunciation section, days and nights, if you wish that may I become Buddha for the benefit of all the sentient beings who are suffering, as presented in the stanzas 7 and 8, days and nights, if you feel that, that is the measure of having generated bodhicitta. Okay, now the next is wisdom. The wisdom of emptiness. Why we have to generate wisdom of emptiness? How to generate the wisdom of emptiness? And what's the measure of having generated the wisdom of emptiness? Okay, 9. Although you train in renunciation and the mind of bodhicitta, but without the wisdom that realizes the ultimate reality, you cannot cut the root of cyclic existence. Therefore, strive to understand dependent arising. Okay, so even if you have the renunciation and the bodhicitta, these two are what? These two are the very powerful, the enthusiasms, powerful motivations to achieve your 2 goals. Motivations, say for example, the example given is let's say there's a person who likes to, there's a poisonous tree there, an extremely huge poisonous tree, and you want to cut it, and you see that it's so harmful that the tree is to you and your family members. So what do? You have to cut it, and you have a tremendous enthusiasm to cut it, but you don't have the eggs. What should you do? So there's a problem. So for that matter, we need to have enthusiasm alone is not sufficient. We need to eggs, the weapon to cut this. So likewise, the enthusiasm to get the state of fearlessness, enthusiasm to experience infinite happiness in the form of renunciation, bodhicitta. Although these 2 enthusiasms and the motivations are there, but if you don't have the means to remove the mental defilements, then the mental defilements will continue to going to be there, and your fears and the lack of happiness will perpetuate. So we need to cultivate the wisdom of emptiness in order to accomplish the 2 aims aspired by the 2 motivations. So let's see what Lama Tsongkhapa teaches us. Although you train in renunciation and the mind of bodhicitta, without the wisdom that realizes the ultimate reality, to wake up, ultimate reality, to wake up from the sleep of ignorance. Without that, you cannot cut the root of cyclic existence. What is the root of cyclic existence? By being in the sleep. By being in the sleep, you continue to create the dreams, and the dreams continue to affect you, and you continue to be affected. This is how we continue suffering. So the root is being in the sleep, the ignorance. So how to cut this ignorance? By introducing the wisdom to wake up, from the sleep of ignorance. Without the wisdom that realizes the ultimate reality, you cannot cut the root of cyclic existence. You cannot wake up from the sleep of ignorance. Therefore, strive to understand dependent arising. Strive to understand the wisdom. What that wisdom is, the wisdom of emptiness, wisdom of dependent origination. And these 2 things, wisdom of emptiness and wisdom of dependent origination, these 2 are the 2 sides of the same coin. These are 2 sides of the same coin. And how can I know this? So this will learn from the following passages. Okay. Number 10. One who sees the infallible cause and effect of all phenomena in samsara and nirvana and destroys all focuses of apprehension has entered the path which pleases the Buddhas. Okay, when will the Buddha be most happy? Okay, when will the mother be most happy over the small sick child? When the sick child learns how to take the medicine himself or herself. So the mother doesn't have to worry. When the child is in the school, the mother is confident, yeah, my child will continue to take the medicines on time, because she knows how to take the medicines on time. He knows how to take the medicines on time. Likewise, the Buddhas will be most happy when each one of us knows how to wake up from the sleep of ignorance, so that each one of us will be freed from the ensnarement of the dreams, contents of the dreams, or the nightmare of the dreams. Okay, so what does it mean by waking up from the sleep of ignorance? What does it mean by the wisdom of emptiness? What is that? One who sees the infallible cause and effect. Say, cause and effect is operating. If you remember, we began the chapter 9 in the earlier the part of the course, or the first part of the two courses. What is that? Was we began with two questions. In order to delve into emptiness, we need to know two things. Number one is, do things exist? Don't begin by saying things are like dream. Begin by saying, do things exist? Does COVID exist? Is COVID harmful or beneficial? Ask all these things, then the answer should be that yes, things exist. By doing bad things, misery will follow. By doing good things, happiness follow. But by not following the rules and regulations of the COVID-19, then the COVID will never come to an end. By taking the injections on time, and by following the rules and regulations, then the COVID will be subsided. These are all infallibly operating. This is what only when you say that, yes, that's very true. You should have good education, and those children, you don't really have to worry much about the children's future. If you don't give good education to the children, then you have to, it leaves the basis for you to worry in the future of the children. These all work so infallibly. Okay, do things exist? Answer should be yes. If you say no, everything is empty, this is nihilism, this is not emptiness. Things do exist. This is number one. Number two, if you say things exist, everything exists, the world operates so infallibly. If this is your answer, then you are entitled to go for the second question. What's the second question? Do things exist objectively or subjectively? Then your answer is that no, it does not exist objectively. It is empty of objective existence. This is the real meaning of emptiness. Whereas if you say no, things exist objectively, this is absolutism. When you say no, things don't exist at all, to the first question, this is nihilism. So to avoid, in order to stay away from the two extremes, you should be able to say yes to the first question, yes, things do exist, and no to the second question, things don't exist objectively. Only then you are freed from the two extremes. In other words, when you say that things do exist, means cause and effect exists. Cause and effect exists. And then when you say the cause and things don't exist objectively, which means even cause and effect is empty of objective reality. So these two should not contradict. These should complement each other. So things do exist, cause and effect, but dependence on causes, the effects come into being. But dependence on doing good education, you will have a good life. But dependence on harming others, your life will be miserable. So this efficacy of cause and effect is there. So this cause and effect is all operated on the basis of dependent origination, which means all these effects are determined by their respective causes. All these effects are dependent on the previous causes. So cause and effect is operating on the basis of the dependent origin. When you say yes to the infallibility of cause and effect, you are accepting the dependent origination. When you say no to the objectivity, you are accepting the emptiness. So these two are seen as being harmony with each other, dependent origination and the emptiness. This is extremely important. With this in mind, they say we did do this I think in the first course and last year as well. I'm going to give you a quick recovery or the revision of what we did earlier. So dependent origination and emptiness. These two are the two sides of the same coin. I'm reiterating this. These two are the two sides of the same coin. And how? You must be convinced. We must be convinced of this. How? This question. So for that matter, we need to know emptiness concept. It doesn't mean nothingness. Emptiness means dependent origination. This is one thing that we need to keep in mind. Emptiness means dependent origination, number one. Number two, dependent origination means the middle way. It is not the extremes. It is the middle way. So we need to establish 2 points. One is emptiness to mean dependent origination. And number two, dependent origination to mean the middle way. So what is conclusion? Conclusion is, therefore, emptiness means the middle way. It's not the extreme of nihilism. It's the middle way. Okay. In other words, A equals B. I say A equals B, and then next I say the B equals C. Your job is to say A equals C. How many agree with me? Raise hands. Very good. Okay. So first I'll tell you how A equals B and how B equals C, and then you have to tell me how A equals C. A is emptiness, B is dependent origination, and C is the middle way. So first, how A equals B. To know how A equals B, we need to know 5 points. Number one, emptiness. Emptiness is the short form. Emptiness doesn't mean nothingness. Emptiness is a short form of emptiness of independent existence. For example, we speak about who, WHO, who. Who doesn't mean who are you. Who simply means World Health Organization. It is a short form of World Health Organization. It doesn't mean who are you. So likewise, emptiness doesn't mean nothing. Everything is empty. There's not a connotation. It is a short form of emptiness of independent existence. Number one, emptiness. Number two, that emptiness is a short form of emptiness of independent existence. Number two. Number three, emptiness of independent existence means, number three, nothing exists independently. Number three, nothing exists independently. Number four, nothing exists independently means everything exists by dependence. Number four, everything exists by dependence. Everything exists by dependence means, number five, that everything is dependently originated, dependently arisen, dependently originated. Okay, this is how emptiness means the dependent origination. First part is that A equals B. Okay, let me repeat it. Emptiness equals dependent origination should be understood with 5 points. Number one, emptiness. Two, that emptiness is a short form of emptiness of independent existence. It doesn't mean things are empty, non-existent. No, it's a short form of emptiness of independent existence. Number two. Number three, emptiness of independent existence means nothing exists independently. Number three. Number four, nothing exists independently means everything exists by dependence. Number four. Number five, everything exists by dependence means everything is dependently originated. This is how emptiness means dependent origination. Next, dependent origination means the middle way. How? This we have to know through 2 points. Point one, dependent origination has 2 sides. One, dependence, and the other one is origination. The first, dependence. When you say dependent, it rejects independence. It rejects independent existence. So independent existence and absolutism, absolute existence, absolutism, they mean the same. So when you say dependent, it rejects the extreme of absolutism. Then other side, origination. Origination means something comes into origination. Something comes into existence. What's the opposite of existence? Non-existence. When it's origination, it rejects non-existence. Rejecting non-existence is rejecting the nihilism. So origination rejects the extreme of nihilism. And the first word, dependence. Dependence, it rejects the extreme of absolutism. And bringing the two together, dependent and origination together, we reject the two extremes. And rejecting the two extremes is following the middle way. So this is how dependent origination equals the middle way. So now we should be able to deduce by default. We come to know that therefore emptiness means the middle way. Therefore A equals C. Okay, this is so important. With this in mind, let's turn to stanza 10 once more. So to wake up from the sleep of ignorance, we have to see that there's nothing really truly there. Everything exists by dependently, by dependence on the impure mind. So it says, one who sees the infallible cause and effect. Now cause and effect dependent origination of all phenomena in samsara and nirvana, at the same time destroys all focuses of apprehension, meaning all focuses of objective apprehension, all focuses of apprehension of objective existence. So what he said is dependent origination equals emptiness. So the first line says dependent origination, and second line is the emptiness of objective existence. The destroys all focuses of apprehension, which is destroys all objective focuses of apprehension. No objective existence. Number one is dependent origination. Line 2 is emptiness of objective existence. 2. As long as, and destroy all focuses of apprehension. Line 1 and line 2 together. Line 1 and line 2 together is dependent origination, and line 3 is emptiness of objective existence. Okay, if that happens, if you see that these two things are in harmony, yes, everything operates so efficaciously, cause and effect, the functionality is operating so efficaciously. At the same time, nothing exists objectively. If this is what comes to your mind, you have entered the path which pleases the Buddhas. Okay, next. Appearances are infallible, dependent arising. So what are the things that appear to your mind, to your senses, to your mind in the daytime, in the nighttime? What are the things that are coming to your mind? Okay, in the daytime, you meet your family members, you see flowers, you go to your office work, then coming home, then you have your the dinner, you do your prayers and so forth. Whatever comes to your mind, all these are just appearances of your mind. What comes to your mind, like being in a dream, you go, in the dream you go to work, you meet with your colleagues, you come home, then you go for a holiday, whatever. All these things are just like the dream. Exactly what's happening now. Whatever things appear to mind, all appearances, what they appear to us, they are the infallible dependent origination. Infallible dependent origination, meaning that what appears to a mind, that the appearance to a mind. Without the mind, appearance cannot happen. So they depend on your mind, and that depend on the basis of destination. Like, say, what we see here. What we see here is a bunch of flowers, but in actuality, the way we studied the last the few days, in actuality, it's just a bunch of atoms. But they don't appear as atoms, they appear as flowers. The flowers. So where's the flower in the atoms? No, but it appeared to, yes, it's a mere appearance. Mere appearance. And are they really flowers? Yes, of course they are flowers. Stay there. Don't go too close to the objective. If you don't go too close, then the concept of flower makes no sense. So just from distance, observe the flower. That's good enough. That is the flower. So that is by dependence on these atoms and your mind that the flower appears. That is dependent origination. Appearances are dependent origination. Appearances are infallible dependent origination, which means that, for example, okay, I see flowers here, and then also if you see a flower here, this is just a coffee mug. If it's a flower here, you are hallucinating. You have to go to mental hospital. If you see a flower here, no problem. Nobody will take you to mental hospital. Although it's a bunch of atoms, there's also a bunch of atoms. But when you see a bunch of atoms here with this object, nobody will take you to hospital. Whereas if you see a bunch of this bunch of atoms, if you see a flower here, then people will take you to hospital, mental hospital. Okay, which means that one is infallibly to be accepted as a flower, and the other cannot be accepted as flower, although both are equally just a mere appearance. One is infallible dependent origination, and the other is just total chaotic. So with this, they say there's some the mentally retarded people, they may say it's a flower, and some may say, oh, this is my mom, right? It's very chaotic. But all the others who are suffering from the same illness, they will see this as a flower. We're all suffering from, our own illness. But because we are all having the same illness, we think that we are not suffering. We think that we are the normal people, right? And other people who see this as chocolate or flower, you send them to mental hospital. But in actuality, we're also suffering from illness. Only good thing is that we suffer the same illness. So therefore, we don't identify ourselves as suffering from illness. Otherwise, it's a bunch of atoms. Where's the flower? You see the flower, just your projection. And you see this as not your projection, it's really the air. But there's a difference. Although it's your projection, and here, when I see a flower here, this is also my projection. Of the two projections, one is what we call as the valid or infallible dependent origination, and the other is invalid. Okay, this distinction is there. So one is infallible dependent origination, and yet because there is a projection, there's nothing from the object. Appearances are infallible dependent origination. Emptiness is the understanding that is free of assertions, meaning that, okay, this appearance happening there, yes, but on the atomic level, there's no flower. This appearance that this is the infallible dependent origination, and emptiness means from the object side, there's nothing to be posited as a flower. So it says emptiness is understanding that is free of assertions, where on the objective level, emptiness is a short form of emptiness of objective existence. On the objective level, there's nothing to be asserted as flower, non-flower, and so forth. As long as these two are seen as distinct, meaning that, okay, I see a flower, this is one thing, and the emptiness flower, this is another thing. You see these things as two unrelated things. This is when you are yet to understand the Buddha's intent. You have not realized the intent of the Buddha. So in fact, the Buddha said the form is empty in Heart Sutra. Emptiness is form. So let's say that I look at this with my naked eyes, and you look at this through electron microscope. And okay, let's say that Israelis and the non-Israelis, let's say, Israelis look at this with your naked eyes, and non-Israelis will look at this through electron microscope. And I ask Group A, the Israelis, Group A, what is this? You will say this flower. Now I ask Group B, what is this? Bunch of atoms. Okay, how many agree with me? Raise hands. Very good. Okay. Now, let's say that the Group A, when I said this is a flower, what is this? You said this flower. And without me shifting my finger from this, I asked Group B, what is this? Group B says this bunch of atoms, no flower. So thus far, the last classes, we said that both are correct. Who's correct? Both are correct. Both are correct. Now, the point is that Okay, the point is that when I say that this is when group A says this is flower, group B says this is just a bunch of flowers, a bunch of atoms, no flower. Actually, these are the two appearances or the two aspects seen on the same object. The same object is seen as a flower by group A. The same object is seen as bunch of atoms or no flower by group B. It's the same object, and both perceptions are correct. Both perceptions are correct, provided we are able to say that the flower is with respect to group A's perception. Non-flower is with respect to group B's perception. And perceptions are different. Two perceptions different. So therefore, is this a flower? Yes, with respect to group A. Is this non-flower? Yes, with respect to group B. So what group A sees as a flower is empty with respect to group B. So form is empty. What group A sees as a flower or the form is empty of being form with respect to group B. What group B sees as empty of being a flower is seen as a flower by group A. Emptiness is form. So this is how we understand Heart Sutra. Form is empty, emptiness is form. You know, form is empty. Form, that is a dependent origination. Form is empty. That's empty is what? The emptiness of objective existence. So emptiness of objective existence and the dependent origination, these two operate on the same object simultaneously. So these two are the two sides of the same coin. This object is flower with respect to group A. The same object is non-flower or the emptiness of being flower to group B. So it's the same object. So two things are operating on the same object. In other words, two things are the two sides of the same object. Okay, so it says that these two should not be seen as two distinct entities. For example, like, oh, this is a pink flower, that's a yellow flower, which means you will see as two different distinct things. If you see as two distinct things, emptiness and dependent origination, you have not yet realized emptiness. So when you really see the emptiness, you should be able to see the same object is a flower with respect to group A. With respect to the conventional analysis, this is a flower. With respect to ultimate analysis, this is the emptiness of flower. So the flower is dependent origination and emptiness flower is the empty side. So empty side and the dependent origination, these two sides are the same, the two sides of the same coin, the two aspects of the same object. Okay. Number 12, when these two realizations are concurrent, whereas when you see that, okay, the flower is this, the non-flower or the emptiness of flower, again, the same thing with respect to the ultimate analysis. So when you see these two things as the two sides of the same coin, when these two realizations are concurrent, where the mere sight of infallible dependent origination, the flower giving a sense of peace, sense of happiness, dependent origination, concurrently destroys all modes of grasping. The flower is beautiful, flower, this pink and so forth. It's just the appearance. The appearance and the object side, it is just totally empty of being flower. Concurrently destroys all modes of grasping. There's nothing to be grasped at objectively. Objectively, it's just empty. Through definite discernment, that you gain deep conviction that objectively there's nothing there. The flower does exist, but on the subjective level. If these two things happen to your mind concurrently, then at that time, the analysis of the profound view is perfected. Your emptiness understanding is complete. Okay. 13. Furthermore, appearances refute the extreme. Okay, now, what we said is that emptiness means dependent origination. Dependent origin means the middle way. Therefore, emptiness means the middle way. Now, on the dependent origination and emptiness, when we see things operating, okay, COVID-19, because of our carelessness, COVID-19, carelessness of the who's ever started that, and later on, the spread is all out of carelessness. By dependence of carelessness, the COVID-19 spread. with the care, by dependence on being careful, the COVID-19 can subside. By dependence on education, by dependence on teaching the heart, teaching to cultivate the heart, the world will find happiness will originate. By dependence on just teaching how to strengthen the brain without the heart, then the world can end up into so much of problems and conflicts. So dependent origination. What appears is dependent origination. It says, further, appearances refute the extreme of existence. When you say that, this dependent origination is operating, dependent origination that is operating in this world. So from this we see, it's just a mere appearance. Mere appearance means no objective reality, no objective existence. Extreme of existence, that is the extreme of absolutism, absolute existence, true existence. When you see the appearance, that things are all operating, that things appear to operate so infallibly, objectively there is nothing, it's just a mere appearance. So that rejects the extreme of absolutism. Emptiness refuses extreme of non-existence. When you say emptiness, objectively there's nothing there, subjectively things are there. Subjectively things are there. So things exist just on the subjective level. From the object, emptiness objective existence means from the subject, things are operating. Okay, so that refutes the extreme of non-existence. When you understand that emptiness arises in the form of cause and effect, when you understand that emptiness arises in the form of cause and effect, from this, for example, when you look at this from the electron microscope, you see that there's no flower, empty of flower. From this emptiness of flower, you remove the electron microscope. From the ultimate analysis, you change it to the conventional analysis, the flower arises. So this flower arose meaning this flower makes sense in with the reality of the emptiness of flower. So where earlier you see the emptiness of the flower with the electron microscope, remove the electron microscope, instantly you see the flower. Where does this flower came from? It came from this emptiness of flower which you saw earlier. So when you understand that emptiness arises in the form of cause and effect, you are not captivated by the view of extremes. The conclusion. Oh, my child, once you have realized the 3 points of the 3 principal paths, so extensive study is so important for all of us. Before we hurry to go for retreats, in long-term retreats and so on, extensive study is so important. Extensive studies allows you to have they allow you to have a rich reflection. Number 2, with the rich reflection, conviction will be gained. Once a conviction is gained so rich, then you meditate, your meditation is going to be very effective and smooth. So it says, oh my child, once you have thus realized the points of the 3 principal paths through studies and reflection, then don't waste your time. Seek solitude. Seek solitude. Cut yourself from the unnecessary busyness of the life. Seek solitude. And it doesn't mean that you have to go into the Himalayas. You can stay in your own place, but cut yourself from the unnecessary busyness of the life and cultivate strong determination with a sense of very strong renunciation, bodhichitta, and employ the wisdom of emptiness to quickly reach the final aspired goal of fearlessness and the infinite happiness. Okay, so yes, this completes the teaching on the 3 principal paths. And often some of my friends who study these texts, who are part of Nalanda Master's course, who are part of Nalanda Diploma course, they give me some their feedback saying that okay, so after coming to the Nalanda studies, Nalanda Master's course, Nalanda Diploma course, my mind starts to find so much at peace. But all my early friends, they become distant from me. I start to feel a little lonely now. Right? And my friends, they think that I've gone mad. Something is wrong with me. I've gone weird. So am I really weird? So this is a question coming to me from my friends, many of my friends. And my answer is that My answer is that let us never forget what the Buddha said. Buddha said, always go with good companions. Number one, always go with good companions. What should I do if I don't get good companions? Go by yourself rather than going with a bad companion. This is the advice of the Buddha. Let's not forget it. Now, what you're realizing is that earlier you were a bad companion yourself because you click with the bad companions. Now you realize that you are changing because you change. Now you don't fit in the company of those earlier friends. You don't fit there. If you don't fit, don't worry. You will get new friends, good friends. Friends who talk sensible. Friends, just, talk about emptiness. Your mind feels the profundity there. Somebody talks compassion. Your mind feels more expansive. Your mind is expanding. Whereas you go with the early friends. They talk about money. They talk about, the properties. They talk about movies. They talk about this, that, and so forth. They talk about politics. This is bad. This is bad. This is bad. Nothing good. Nothing nice. Nothing this. Right? Your mind, in the end, at the end of the day, when you come home, you feel so tired, exhausted, which means that this is where a transformation has taken place. And don't miss those friends who try to run away from you, because you're going to have many good friends who will give you greater meaning out of your life. So that is what I'd like to share with you. So in this connection, yes, time up. We are done. And I really congratulate Shahala. I know all your efforts. You are a great inspiration for many of us. And please continue to extend your service to the Dharma Friends of Israel, and also all other volunteers, and also, as I requested earlier, like Leorala, then Gilala, and so forth, the senior, and then the Venerable Yakila, and the seniors from the Dharma Friends of Israel. Please continue to be a part of the Dharma Friends of Israel. Your presence just there is a great inspiration to so many others, particularly the younger ones. When they see that, okay, she's in her 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, but what she speaks is like she's in 20s. Although she looks like 30, 40, 50, 60, but what he speaks is like the 20 years old, very dynamic, very young boy, which means talking sensible things. When the young people, when they see this, they'll be inspired. They will see that there's no generation gap. When they see the generation gap, okay, that is the old school style. So we are not, this is nothing to do with us. So they will cut themselves off. So this is so important. So people like Leorala, Gilala, and the others, Yakila also. Yakila, you are there. And all those from the Dharma Friends of Israel for a long time, I request you to continue to be there, even though you have already served a great deal for the last many years. Yes, I understand it. But I request you continue to be there in this the group, so that others can seek inspiration from you. They'll be inspired to be part of this. This is how we disseminate the teaching of compassion and the teaching of wisdom. It's not about Buddhism, it's about the wisdom and compassion, that people should be happier, that people should not create problems to their parents. So that is what we expect from the Dharma Friends of Israel. If this much is what you're doing, is happening because of your existence there, this great service to the sentient beings and to all the Buddhist Bodhisattvas. Finally, Buddhist Bodhisattvas, they don't really want everybody to become a Buddhist. They want everybody to be happy. They want everybody to not to live in fear, that they can live in a total peace with most expansive happiness. When that is happening, all the Buddhist Bodhisattvas, they're very pleased. And that is what you're contributing towards. Okay, Thank you so much, each and every one of you. And we'll do end direction prayer. We'll do end direction prayer. And Shahala, from Dharma Friends Israel, you have to make some announcements or whatever.
Yes, I would like to say thank you very, very much.
Tomla.
Yes.
Yeah, Tomla, thank you so much, Tomla. And then the early one is Tomer. Thank you so much. Those who assist the Shahala. And I know that there are many others who are behind the scene also are serving Shahala, serving the Dharma Friends of Israel. Thank you, each and every one of you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for Tibet House for organizing this. And this was a very, very valuable and great teaching on Shantideva's text, and also to be fortunate to get another teaching on another text by Dhamma Tsongkhapa. It's great, and we're very thankful for your effort and your time. And hopefully you continue to do this many more times. Thank you very, very much.
Okay, final dedication prayer. Screen sharing. Thank you. Okay. Let us dedicate the marriage thus gathered, that His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the true source of joy and happiness on this earth, that he lives long and that his wishes be fulfilled spontaneously. And let us also dedicate the marriage thus gathered, that this COVID-19 subsides altogether, and that all the people who died to this COVID-19 and otherwise as well, may they take a favorable birth, the birth of leisure and endowment, that they be able to practice the wisdom of emptiness and the bodhichitta, and that they become the beacon of the hope, the beacon of the wisdom, to lead all beings towards the ultimate state of fearlessness and infinite happiness. And let us also pray that those who are in the hospitals because of any form of ailments, that they recover from the ailments very quickly, and that they meet with the family members to really feel the harmony and the peace at home, united with them, and then let them feel the incredible joy out of compassion and the love of the family members, and that the remaining part of their life be very meaningful with the practice of wisdom of emptiness, wisdom and the compassion. And let us also pray that all the learning centers of compassion and wisdom of any tradition, like Sakya, Kagyu, Nyingma, Gelug, Chinese tradition, Theravada tradition, Tibetan Buddhism, wherever there is that practice of compassion and the wisdom happening, may all these centers thrive in the activities of studies, reflection, and meditation for the benefit of all the people who connect with these centers. And let's pray that with concerted effort, each one of you through a concerted effort, soon see the dawn of the wisdom of emptiness, bodhicitta within yourself, and that each one of you becomes such a reliable guide to lead all dear mother sentient beings to a ultimate happiness. So with this mind, let us recite the following word, and also that the centers such as Dharma Friends of Israel and all other centers, may they have the very dynamic, first of all the people who are working there, who are really volunteering to support these centers, may they have long lives, may the practice of the Dharma be very successful as they intended in line with Dharma, and that the activities of these centers flourish and be heard and be known by as many people, that these people can get the benefit from the existence of these wonderful centers. So with this mind, let us pray these verses. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful generous tens in Gyaso, please remain until samsara ends. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samadbhadra too realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow the perfect example. I dedicate all these rules of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by all the Buddhas who appear in the three times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattvas deeds. Chanjo Sanjo Rinpoche Magya Panam Kya Gyoroje Kya Boy Nyamba Me Bayam Kone kondo pebarai shoho. May the Supreme Bodhichitta that is not arisen arise and grow, and may that which is arisen not diminish but increase forevermore. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of Guru Buddha and lead all beings without exception into that enlightened state. I dedicate the merits thus gathered towards the realization that these and the prayers of all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas for 3 times, and to the upholding of the Dharma of teaching and realization. May I in all lives, through the force of this merit, never separate from the 4 wheels of the Mahana vehicle, and accomplish all the stages of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, perfect in the 2 stages. With a wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I join the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge to the Triple Gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddhahood in my heart. By the power of practicing and subjugating to you, may all be free from sickness, poverty, and conflicts, and may Dharma and auspiciousness proliferate in all the places where we abide. The path of union of emptiness and compassion is loosely explained by the protector of Buddha Dharma and the beings of the land of snows. With the Lotus hold attendant Gyaso, we supplicate you that your wishes are fulfilled spontaneously. May the operations of evil thoughts and deeds of the negative forces of humans or non-humans who harbor malice through perverted prayers against the teachings of the Buddhas be totally vanquished through the power of the truth of the 3 jewels. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, may enjoy the magnificent Dharma by completing the qualities of the stages and the paths, may quickly attain the state of Vajratara. Throughout my future lifetimes, may always be guided by the Manjushri and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teachings of dependent origins in particular, even at the cost of my life. Deata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhisattvas Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhisattvas Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhisattvas. Okay.
Thank you, Geshe.
Shala. Thank you, Shala. Thank you, Tomla. Thank you, each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you, Geshe. Thank you very much.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kesala. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all participants, and have a beautiful weekend and best life.
Okay, everyone.
Lodato.